What's up everyone, my name is Ale and welcome to my world of finance. Today we're going to be talking about my 3 biggest stocks that I'm investing in July 2018. And if you guys could please do me a quick favor, leave a comment down below, let me know which one of these 3 stocks you guys like the most, and I'll tally up the results and I'll have the results in next month's video. And so those 3 stocks are Nintendo, Disney, and AMD. And if you're bearish on all 3, then just let me know that you hate all 3. I'll even make a results section for people that hate all of them, and that's completely fine, and we'll tally up all the results, and I'm very curious to see what you guys like the most. So anyway, guys, June has been absolutely insane. My 3 biggest stocks have been all over the place. Ever since E3 2018 in early June, Nintendo has been getting crushed. They've been getting destroyed, and so there's a lot to talk about there. I'm kind of waiting for a bounce back from them. Disney and AMD have been absolutely killing it, and so I'm left kind of waiting for a dip so that I can pick up more shares of those. Although with AMD it's a little tricky because I've been kind of swing trading it, but we're going to cover all that. But anyways, there is so much news to cover, guys. I'm really excited. I can't wait to share all this stuff with you guys. So make sure you find a comfy seat, grab yourself a beer, if you're not old enough, grab yourself a glass of milk. If you're fancy, grab some bubbly. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Just grab something to drink, sit back, relax, and let's talk all about my 3 biggest stocks in the month of July 2018.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Yeah.
Alright, starting with Nintendo. Guys, what the heck happened? I mean, this has been an insane month. Look at this chart here. This is a 1-month chart. May was pretty much flat. In June, we went down 18%. Over 18% we dropped in June. That's insane. And at one point we were in the 50s. We dropped all the way to the 30s. Now we're kind of sitting at the low 40s, but we're talking about an insane dip here. Though to be honest, I was kind of hoping for a dip so that I could pick up more shares of Nintendo. So this could technically be kind of a blessing in disguise. The only thing that sucks for me personally is that I was impatient. And I never preach this. I always tell you guys you should be patient, especially when you're investing in stocks. But I was impatient and I picked up some shares of Nintendo right before E3, thinking that analysts would be very happy with Nintendo's performance at E3. And instead, and with all the Fortnite hype and all that, I thought analysts would go crazy over that stuff. Because usually these game analysts or analysts that cover gaming stocks, they don't usually know a lot about games. And so you give them kind of like trigger words, kind of like Fortnite, something like that, or buzzwords, I should say, Fortnite, and they'll kind of just go off on it and they'll be like, oh, this is great for the stock, and usually that'll raise the stock a huge amount. And so that's what I was expecting. That's what I was assuming would happen. That did not happen, guys. Analysts hammered the stock, and basically Nintendo went into a huge sell-off and the stock just got destroyed. Okay, so what happened at E3? Well, if you don't know anything about E3, E3 is basically like the biggest gaming conference event of the year, and it happens every year, and it always happens in June. And this is where Microsoft comes out and they show all their Xbox stuff. Sony comes out, they show off all their PlayStation stuff. Nintendo comes out, and obviously right now we're talking about the Nintendo Switch. And other companies come out and they show all their games as well. And so it's just this huge giant gaming event. Now, if you haven't seen any of my previous Nintendo videos, then you probably don't know this, but just a really quick recap. I'm investing in Nintendo heavily because of the Nintendo Switch and the upcoming Pokemon games. And so the Nintendo Switch is actually this guy right here. It's just this portable console. You can play games on the go, and you can set it down into a dock and play on your giant big screen TV. It's already sold 18 million units in just 1 year, which has already surpassed the previous generation console, which was the Wii U, launched back in 2012, and the Nintendo Switch has already outsold it in just 1 year, whereas the other one came out in 2012, I think, 2012 or 2013, and it already outsold it. The other thing is that Pokemon is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and this game that's coming out this year for the Nintendo Switch is called Pokemon Let's Go, and it's meant to attract the Pokemon Go audience from the smartphone app, and that has already had over 800 million downloads. So that's an insanely large audience that you can attract to the Nintendo Switch. And so E3 took place in early June, and I thought Nintendo started off doing pretty well. We had a few games shown off. Fortnite was finally confirmed. Fortnite was heavily rumored, and we knew that it was kind of coming. It was essentially leaked, but it wasn't officially confirmed yet. And if you know anything about the stock market, whenever you have certainty, whenever you have official confirmation, that usually brings up investor confidence, and it usually brings up a stock. But this didn't really happen in this case. I was hoping it would. It didn't really happen, but we'll get into that later. But either way, Fortnite is a game that has over 40 million players, brings in hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. So this was a very good game to bring to the platform. So it got officially confirmed for the Switch. We had a couple surprises. Mario Party was a surprise. Nobody really knew that was coming. We got more footage of Pokemon. We also got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is now going to have every single character in the entire franchise's history dating back all the way to the Nintendo 64. So all of that sounds like great news, right? Well, I think that there was a couple problems. First of all, we didn't get too many surprises. The only real surprise was Mario Party. All the other games I think were heavily rumored or officially confirmed. And usually at E3 you come out swinging with surprises, and Nintendo didn't really do that, so I think they left the audience feeling a little disappointed. We also didn't hear about Metroid. There was also a rumor about a Star Fox game. We didn't hear about that either. So overall, just kind of left a little disappointed. The other problem was that they spent way too long talking about Super Smash Bros., which is a huge game and definitely can bring in a lot of customers to purchase the Nintendo Switch, but they just spent way too long talking about it. So I think that, coupled with the fact that they didn't really show too many surprises, led to a huge overreaction, in my opinion, on the stock and a major sell-off. But let's look at some of the pros. Now, you have to remember that Super Smash Bros. And Mario Party are huge first-party titles, and they can definitely sell some consoles. Now, we also have Pokemon coming, and Pokemon is an absolute beast. You're talking over 7 titles in the top 50 best-selling games of all time. And with Pokemon, we have a more casual version, Pokemon Let's Go, for the Pokemon Go audience. That will be coming this year in November, which I think will drive huge holiday sales. And then next year, we have a more hardcore version for more of the hardcore Pokemon players. It's kind of weird saying hardcore with Pokemon because it doesn't really sound like a hardcore kind of game. But anyway, we have the more hardcore version coming next year in 2019, and that should be for holiday 2019. So that'll drive more holiday sales the next year. So those are huge titles that I think can definitely sell consoles in both years and during holiday seasons. So this year we have the doubleheader of Super Smash Bros. And Pokemon, also Mario Party, and then next year we have Pokemon and probably Metroid and probably whatever that Star Fox game is and whatever Retro is working on. So there's definitely some heavy hitters in both years. Now, Forbes actually asked Reggie Fils-Aimé, the Nintendo president of America, what he thought about the dip in stock price, and he basically responded by saying that they still have surprises up their sleeves. They said that they don't show everything at E3. They show just kind of the games that are coming out right now, but they definitely have some surprises coming in the next few weeks and months. Also, don't forget that we have the online subscription service coming in September of this year, which is great. Anytime you have a subscription service, that's just more profit coming in for the company. But when asked during an earnings conference call how they would get people to sign up for this online subscription service, Nintendo gave somewhat of a cocky response, but I kind of like it. They basically said, trust me, when we announce this service, people will sign up. Basically saying that they're going to announce some major advantages to having the subscription service. Now, my theory, and this is just a theory, just my opinion, is that they will have some sort of virtual console tied to that subscription service. Basically, Nintendo's backlog, humongous backlog of historical games on all kinds of different systems, basically available to people that subscribe for that service. And so if they do that, I think you'll bring in a massive number of people signing up for the service. And on top of that, at E3, when they announced Fortnite, they announced that it would be available the same day. And so in that one day of launch, in that first day of launch, Fortnite was already downloaded over 2 million times in just one day of launch. That is an insane number. And the game is getting heavily praised for its performance, and I even played the game myself, and I think it runs buttery smooth on the Switch and has great performance. So in conclusion, and this is just my opinion, I think that Nintendo stock is oversold at this point, and so I've been picking up more shares. And I'm also waiting for Pokemon to come out this year, next year, drive up the stock, and at some point I probably will sell Nintendo stock. One of the biggest concerns that I have with Nintendo is that they are heavily underpowered compared to Xbox and PlayStation. When you look at Xbox One and PlayStation 4, they're already underpowered. And then you look at next gen, and we're gonna definitely talk about next gen because an upcoming stock, my third biggest stock is AMD, and they power Xbox and PlayStation. And so when we look at next gen, you're probably talking about 4K graphics and 60 frames per second. You're not even close to that with the Nintendo Switch. I mean, the Nintendo Switch a lot of times is 720p, sometimes it gets up to 1080p, a lot of times it's 30 frames per second, sometimes it gets up to 60 frames per second. The thing is that the Nintendo Switch is portable, and so whenever you have portability, you're probably sacrificing power. But I think that we live in an age where people care about power and they care about technology, so that's a concern for me. I'm hoping that Nintendo releases a more powerful console refresh in the not too distant future, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Nintendo. Let me know what you think below, and let's move on to Disney. All right, my second biggest stock is Disney, and Disney has been absolutely killing it, especially compared to Nintendo. They've been really outperforming them, especially this month. Right now, at the time of this recording, they're priced at around $107 per share. At one point, they cracked $109 per share. And in this month alone, in June, they are up almost 8%. Now, Disney's park and resort segment has been killing it, still up over 13% in the last quarter, but let's cut through all the fluff. We know that their studio segment is doing very well. We know all that, but let's cut through all that stuff and let's just get down to what is really going on right now. And the most important thing that's going on right now with Disney is their bidding war with Comcast over a huge amount of assets from 21st Century Fox. Now, it's no secret that Disney wants to absolutely crush this deal. They cannot back down. They know that if they get these assets from 21st Century Fox, it will completely fill up their catalog for their online streaming service, which they plan to launch next year. Now, there is one problem. Comcast also does not want to back down. Now, when I first started reporting on this, Disney offered around $50 billion for these assets from 21st Century Fox. Well, after that, Comcast responded by offering 21st Century Fox $65 billion in cash. Well, we've seen Disney stock go up, right? So what happened? Well, Disney counter-offered that by offering $71 billion. And then Comcast responded again by offering $80 billion. I mean, it's been an insane war going back and forth. And while I am extremely angry at Comcast for essentially trying to ruin my whole investment in Disney, it has recently been reported that 21st Century Fox has accepted the $71 billion offer from Disney, and even Disney president Bob Iger has stated that they should be receiving regulatory approval soon. Even Bloomberg reported that we could see that approval happen in the next couple weeks, given that AT&T and Time Warner, that deal got approved recently as well. Now, how I personally feel about Disney's stock price is that at under $100, which they have consistently been at, they're extremely undervalued. I think that they are a great buy at under $100 per share. At their current level, they're probably closer to being fairly valued, but I think that there is a ton of upside, especially next year, so I don't really have a problem investing with them even at this price. But we have seen historically that they have kind of jumped up here and then sunk back down to under $100. So if they get closer to $100, I will definitely be picking up more shares. That's just my own personal opinion, though. You guys should make your own decisions. And their PE ratio of around 14 and their dividend yield of 1.5, in my opinion, is not only fair, I think it's absolutely amazing, given that they still have so much growth and potential in the future. And don't forget, guys, when we talk about their new streaming service, we're talking about all of Star Wars, all of Marvel, all of Pixar, all of their kids content, all their television content like ABC, ESPN. When they acquire 21st Century Fox assets, we're talking about X-Men, we're talking about Deadpool, all their other content. I mean, this is just an insane amount of content that they can put into their streaming service. So sometimes when I think about Disney, guys, I just can't help but drool. I am so bullish on Disney, especially in the next few years. All right, and my third biggest stock is AMD, and they have also been absolutely killing it. Look at this chart here. In May, they were up over 5%, and in June so far, they've been up over 20%. And year to date, they are up over 60%, which is an insane amount. And currently, at the time of this recording, they're priced at around $16 per share. Now, if you've been holding AMD stock through all this volatility, or if you've at least been swing trading it, which is what I've been doing, then you should be in pretty good shape. I definitely cashed in some of my profits. Even though I think AMD has a huge amount of potential, I always cash in some of my profits with AMD. I can't help it, guys, that AMD is just one of those volatile stocks. I see them climb, to $15. I see them drop to $10, or even, I think even less than $10 at one point. They were like 9 something when I bought some. So I can't help that. You know, they go up and down on a fairly consistent basis, at least in recent history. So I've been swing trading the stock. But even with all of that swing trading, AMD still remains my third biggest stock, and that's because I put most of my money into my 3 biggest stocks, and then I sprinkle whatever is left over a couple other different stocks just to kind of diversify a little bit. But usually I'm very bullish on 3 primary stocks, and then I sprinkle the rest over a few others just to kind of diversify. Now, why has AMD stock been going up so much? Well, there's a couple reasons, but let's start with their product roadmap. In their CPU segment, their 7nm Zen 2 should be coming out next year, and then Zen 3 should be coming out in 2020. On the GPU side, we should be getting the 7nm Navi next year, and the next gen of that in 2020. But let's talk a little bit more about that GPU segment. Now, looking at E3, which we just talked about with Nintendo, the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, he came out at E3 and he basically announced that they are deep into development of the next gen Xbox consoles. Keyword there is plural, consoles. And so it could be a series of consoles. That's what a lot of rumors are going around saying, is that this could be a family of consoles. And then we also have heavy rumors that the next gen PlayStation, the PS5, will likely be using Navi. And so we just said the 7nm Navi probably in 2019. I think that it is very probable, just my opinion, but very probable that Microsoft and Sony will be competing to see who can launch the next gen earlier. And so if that's the case, I think that we could probably see the next gen of consoles in 2019, 2019 for sure, the earliest, and then probably the latest, maybe 2020. I think that it's very probable that we'll see these consoles very soon. Now, what does this mean for AMD? Well, AMD has the potential to make out like bandits, because in console gaming, you usually don't see hardware refreshes too close together. Now, the gap has kind of been shrinking a little bit. Sometimes we get like mid-console refreshes, but for the most part, AMD just has to give them a CPU and a GPU. Well, most likely an APU, which will use like a combination of a CPU and GPU. So you're probably talking about Ryzen on the CPU side, probably talking about Navi on the GPU side, forming an APU, and then that will probably be powering the next gen Xbox and PlayStation. And then the great thing for AMD is that these consoles stay on the market. As long as they're on the market, AMD is constantly bringing in revenue from that, and they don't necessarily have to make anything new until the next refresh. And that's just in console gaming. We also know that AMD is expecting better numbers in the notebook and PC market, because they have the 7nm Vega coming out this year, and we also have the next gen of Threadripper CPU coming out also this year. And don't forget that we're still doing very well on the server side with Epic, and we're getting new deals announced all the time. The most recent ones being partnerships with Tencent and Cisco, and that is leading to analysts upgrading the stock, raising price targets, analysts like Morgan Stanley and Cohen as of recent, and helping drive the stock up even further. Still, on the bearish side of things, you have to remember that things like crypto mining slowing down, and crypto prices have been performing pretty poorly lately. Don't forget about NVIDIA. NVIDIA is always a major threat. Their GPUs always perform very well. They're coming out with more products. When looking at Intel, I'm not too concerned with Intel. On the CPU side, it feels like AMD is consistently closing the gap in terms of power, so I'm not really concerned there. And I think that Intel is still a couple years away from really delivering something competitive on the GPU side. So in conclusion, I'm still bullish on AMD, but whenever they go up a lot, I usually cash in some profits. Whenever they dip a lot, I usually buy more shares. That's just what I do. I'm not telling you guys what to do. And also going into the next earnings, a lot of analysts are expecting EPS growth year over year, so we'll have to see what happens with that. I'll definitely keep you guys posted, so make sure you're subscribed for all that kind of content. But who cares what I think? It matters what you guys think. So make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know which one of these 3 stocks you guys like the most. I'll tally up the results and I'll have those in next month's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to this point, then I'm gonna say you guys are like AMD. You guys are absolutely crushing it, just like the Crushinator from Futurama. And if you get that reference, you gotta smash that like button. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful day, and you take care. Bye.